Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco. They've been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927, and that company has been the cornerstone of the coffee industry for quite a long time. I mean, most excellent coffee bars that you go to, you're going to find a La Marzocco behind the bar. They are dependable, and the company is just dedicated to innovating in ways that actually make a difference for the barista experience, and that also influences the customer experience with great technology that allows for consistency, ergonomics. There's a La Marzocco style and capacity and function that fits your needs. Whether you're looking for something very technologically advanced or something a little bit more manual, go to lamarzocousa.com and check out their options there. And you can email their sales folks, info@lamarzocousa.com. You should also go to our other sponsor, rattleware.com. I love that company. They are the kind of company that really is trying to be behind the scenes. It's kind of funny because it's smallwares, and smallwares, it's not the kind of thing that you think about until you're the one behind the bar using the shot glasses. I just got done doing some training at a cafe who's a client of mine, and they're using those Rattleware pitchers for shots, right? Makes a huge difference. And it's just one example of hundreds, maybe even thousands of things that they have at their website, rattleware.com. Go there, check them out. If you need smallwares in your cafe, these people are dedicated to making smallwares that just work so you can just work. Now, today's shift break is a weird one. I say that because sometimes, and this is just my nature, I feel it could be undiagnosed, or maybe it was at some time ADD. I was on medication as a child, if that counts. But the point is, I am somebody who appreciates the idea of being in the moment. And right now, actually don't even know what we're going to talk about as we talk about coffee. I started recording this and I'm thinking, there's something that needs to be talked about. Why don't we just hit record and see what happens? And, sometimes the best ideas come from that. And I think that's kind of giving the direction of what this needs to be, which is, we all title things like rules and steps and principles and best practices. And a lot of this stuff is attention grabbing, and it's meant to get you in because, frankly, we're all just kind of like jaded to media, and we need to be kind of smacked into a algorithm, I guess. And sometimes the algorithm works in our favor. I think we are so big in specialty coffee. We have all sorts of clever ideas and rules and principles and experiments and scientific breakdowns. And we got coffee atomized. We've got it itemized, atomized, dissected, spread apart, exploded the diagram. It's on our walls. We celebrate it through that sort of exploration. But sometimes the synthesis of all those things, the coming together, the singularity, the thing that is the life-giving aspect of a specialty coffee experience is only possible if you stop it. If you stop doing that stuff and you just allow it to happen. Kind of where you throw caution to the wind, where you talk to a stranger at a coffee shop and end up making a friend, when you are in the moment making coffee and trusting the training that you had, and you are making great coffee and you are kind of in the flow. You've been there. If you're a barista, you've been there where it's just feeling good and that things are running well. There's a special moment where that happens. It doesn't always last, but for me, that feels like the biggest payoff. It feels like that moment that a couple and many guests on the show have talked about as owners, where they look out on the landscape of their cafe and they see people talking and drinking coffee, and then all of a sudden it hits them that this is a thing. This is almost an indescribable sort of core vibrating perception of what has been brought to bear into being. And you can't necessarily plan that. Our pursuits of coffee lend the details and attend to the details enough that these things are able to be born. There is that science to it. But if you don't put down the beaker, you can't pick up the mug. You can't look out the window if you're just in the spreadsheets. And you need that. You have to have a little bit of poetry with your white papers, with your books and everything else. You have to have a little something that transcends the analysis and the comparative whatever that we're doing. And I'm for the craft, and sometimes I would even say the art of those things. There is a beauty in the details. It's like the closer you look at things like water and coffee and milk, it is in itself beautiful, but the payoff and the thing we're going for and the thing we have to be working at perceiving is how well we can enter into the whole, where we can see the forest, we can see the enormity of it. When you look at a mountain, when you look at a landscape that is majestic, there's majesty to it. That feels life-giving. Something about it calls to the human soul. And all of the time we hear about burnout, I think a lot of it is due to not being able to perceive the majesty in what we've created, because we're constantly analyzing to the nth degree everything, and we're putting off joy. We're saying there's no rest for the owners here. We gotta keep on hustling, and we're not allowing ourselves to see what's actually happening around us, and it's not very practical. It's the thing is that in itself, when you sit there and do nothing and perceive and allow yourself to be impacted by and affected by that which you've created and your team has created in this synthesis of community and professionals in the space of a coffee shop has created, when you allow that to happen, you can't put it in a report. And we've trained ourselves to kind of look to those business aspects of the business, but not the life parts of the business. And so I guess as we talk about this, I'm thinking there has to be a little bit of mystery involved in what we do. There has to be a little bit of recklessness where we can be super planners. We can worry ourselves into a corner and be completely useless in so many ways outside of that one thing that we know how to do really well, which is like read a spreadsheet or make a coffee. But if all you know how to do is make the perfect cup of coffee, but you can't enjoy it, and if all you know how to do is run a profitable business and you're deep in the numbers and you see that line at the end and you're like, we're profitable, and that's how you enjoy your business, but you can't enjoy it socially, or you can't see the big picture of what's happening outside of that number, then you're robbing yourself of the reward of what this is all about. Again, we need both. And as I start this and I think about how, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it feels like a heart-led kind of thing. Maybe some of it is true that you can lead your company from the heart. And these tools that we have to help us run great cafes, they're great. I love them. And the operator today has more tools and resources at their disposal than ever in the history of specialty coffee before. Then why is the coffee shop experience more miserable than it has been before? I've been around the business of coffee long enough to remember coffee shops having a little bit more life in them. These days, we have analyzed things and dissected them so much, and we don't allow them to live. the thing can't live if it's on the operating table, if it's being dissected. You gotta let it breathe a little bit. That doesn't mean, oh, do you mean let our coffee shop be really messy, or have our staff not trained, or our drinks are inconsistent and our hospitality is pretty bad? No, that's not the same. That's not. That's what I'm saying is that we need to introduce the idea, or maybe reintroduce the idea, that part of what makes this worth it is the fun of the mystery of what's going to be. We don't know what's going to be, and because we have all these tools, we can't stand it. We're just like, well, no, I have to know what's going to happen because I have to be prepared for what's going to happen. And you probably, if you're attending to the cafe you're in right now and taking care of the people as best you can, taking care of the customers, the tools in the space, the walls, the porcelain, the wood, the stones, and the vents and the filters, all this stuff is like you're stewarding those things very well. And your heart in that is that it all is there to act together to create that experience. Then you don't need to worry that much about the future, and you will allow a lot more of the times, I think, a future that is more fulfilling, because it's kind of a revealing process. When a cafe grows, you look at a place that started and then you look at it 10 years later, it looks really different. It's the product of many decisions, some hard and necessary decisions, some planned decisions, other things completely not planned for, but we would say happy accidents, or kind of really came around at the right time and made something we could never really make on our own. And I think that's where I want to end here, which is you can't really make a coffee shop on your own. You have to allow that co-creative element of a cafe to happen in order for it to have the life that speaks to the people who want to share their life with it. We talk about customer loyalty. We want to keep people that are staff. We want to keep people that are customers. People are searching for this. They don't even know how to articulate that, but they understand it when they see it. There's something about it. It's like your favorite character in a movie. It might not be the main character, but there's something about their personality that speaks to you. And you have to be present and allow it to have its own kind of growth and attend to that growth. Yes. Steward that growth. Yes. But in a sense, you're kind of along for the ride with the rest of us, but we're doing it together. And the move now for a lot of people is to emphasize even more the production level coffee shop, a little bit more of the high polish, what do you call it, sanitized, minimalist, the very, exact, the very correct way to do a coffee shop. There's no correct way to be a coffee shop. There are principles that lend to your way of doing a coffee shop being more successful and being around longer, sure. And those things are meant to serve the greater vision, the greater life of that business. That's what makes coffee shops so cool, is that they are varied and culturally varied and missionally varied. And the mystery of what it's going to be 5 years from now, that the neighborhood might change, you might change, your staff changes, people's tastes change. The cafe will kind of go with it a little bit, right? And sometimes it won't. And sometimes that'll be awesome because the cafe is sort of like this beacon, like time capsule. And there's a lot of cafes like that I love, where they have just never really changed. And they're so popular because of that too. But you got to listen. You got to be in conversation with the business, with the people, with the community, and with yourself, and allow that connection to happen. And don't analyze things to death. And that's not where the life of the business is. So, as always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.